Good morning. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or watching from home, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I'm Bryna Blum, your worship associate this morning. Megan Beeman Jacinto was scheduled to be with us today. At 3:43 on Friday afternoon, I received an email saying, sorry. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency, so we made a change to today's service, a wonderful change.
Yet to be seen.
Reverend Barbara Fast, who spent 3 very eventful years here with us through COVID and taught us the meaning of shared ministry, has stepped up and is gracing our pulpit today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. One more thing. The captioning isn't working today, so you need to listen carefully because both Rev B and I are from the Bronx. Before we begin, please take a moment to silence your cell phones before they ring. Here, as we do every week, we acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded lands of the Agua Caliente Band of the Cahuilla people. And we commit to grow in our understanding and relationship with this land and with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival. In this congregation, we strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We welcome people of all races, religions, and cultures. We welcome you wherever you come from and whoever you love. You are welcome here, no matter your sexual orientation or gender identity, your age, or your size, whether you are rich or poor. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world. Our goal here is to build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and most importantly, in love. We're glad you're here with us this morning, whether you're here in the sanctuary or at home. Your presence means a lot to us. If you want to learn more about us or our programming, please contact the office at admin@uucod.org. And now please join me as Reverend Barbara rings the Tibetan bowl, and we listen to the wonderful Joel Baker play our music for centering to start our service. My reading this morning, or the opening words this morning, are a prayer for our country. They were spoken by Senator Robert F. Kennedy. I've seen these words several times over the past few weeks, and although they can't fix anything, in a small way, I find them inspiring. Let no one be discouraged by the belief that there is nothing one person can do against the enormous array of the world's ills, misery, ignorance, and violence. Few will have the greatness to bend history, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all those acts will be written the history of a generation. It is numberless, diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a person stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he or she sends a ripple of hope. Crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, these ripples can build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. That's the late Senator Robert F. Kennedy.
You are able in body or spirit for our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Please join with me as Reverend Barbara lights the chalice. The words are above me. When strangers meet, endless possibilities emerge. New experiences, new ways of understanding, and new ways of taking action. When strangers meet, each pays special attention to the other. Each is called to serve something larger than the self. Today, this morning, let's light the chalice for openness, for willingness to grow, for rich curiosity, for common purpose. And now if Joni will come up to light the BIPOC candles, please read along. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together toward spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail.
It's a poem by Mary Oliver. When I Am Among the Trees, from her book, Thirst. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me. And daily, I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light lows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you, too, have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. The words of Mary Oliver. And now, as part of that, sharing and shining for those joys and sorrows unspoken, but very much alive within you, we acknowledge those too. Every one of us is here for a reason this day, or many. So now let's take a few moments to breathe and settle in and settle down. If you want to put your paper down, rest your feet on the floor, rest your hands in your lap if you're able, roll your shoulders if it helps, wiggle a little if it helps. Do what you need to do to bring your wholeness present now. No matter if it's for a few seconds or longer, it is an impression in our bodies that will stay with us and inform our life as we go forward. So take a breath, quiet, and exhale and feel it move in and out without stress. I invite you now to enter with me in a spoken prayer and meditation. And as you wish, receive these words or let them float over you like a gentle melody. Imagine, I can still hear it. Imagine all the people in this world living in peace, freedom from want and fear. Imagine yourself simply being and feeling good enough, however you are in this moment. Let the breath come in and out, refreshing you, reminding that we are all connected. And every joy and sorrow lives side by side through time within us. May we give ourselves time and give them space so that they can nurture our lives this day, so that we can, so fully nurtured and whole, share that blessing with those we encounter. Grateful to be together, to care enough to show up for children so they know they are worth it and seen in this world, together and humble to understand that not everyone is equally blessed and safe. Giving gratitude for those who do the work, supporting each other in the world, and also letting ourselves just be. So hard sometimes. Imagine. And in that imagining, keep faith with its possibility of becoming real. So may it be, and blessed be, and let the people say, Amen. Now let's sing, Spirit of I grew up in a complex of six-story apartment buildings constructed during that post-war baby boom era. Rental apartments, kids everywhere in the complex playground, mostly Catholic and Jewish. Riverdale was a section of the Bronx along the Hudson River opposite the Palisades, and behind those apartments were windy roads that led down to the river. Around the corner and up the hill from the buildings was a forest. At least to a girl in New York, it felt like a forest. There were lots of trees. Next to the forest were the walls of a convent, a cloistered community of Catholic nuns. Behind those and at the beginning of Advent, just after Thanksgiving, my mother and I would walk there. I would walk along the convent wall, touching its scratchy, cold cement and trying not to step on sidewalk cracks. My mother was not Catholic, but she loved this community of nuns and the peaceful space that the walls embraced. She would stroll through the quiet gardens among their tall trees. Mary Oliver, when I am among the trees, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say they save me, and daily, I am so distant from the hope of myself. And they call out, stay a while. It's simple, they say. You have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. We enter through a large, high wrought iron gate. It was always open, and we follow a winding path that led past a statue of Mary, then over a small bridge where we'd stop and gaze down at the shallow pond with orange fish, koi, with their fluttery white tails that you could even see through a layer of ice. Finally, we arrive at a cluster of houses that ivy covered and a big brown door. Mother knocked. A small barred window within the door slid open. Smiling eyes took us in, and then the door opened. My mother explained to me that only one of those sisters was able to speak with and interact with the outside world. The others had taken vows of silence, remained cloistered within the walls. They prayed for us and the world behind those big brown doors. They were contemplatives. This was one of the few times in the year they opened their door. We went into another room where a few parents who had made small contributions to the convent sat with their children who waited to reach into the grab bag. I watched carefully as a child reached inside and pulled out a brightly wrapped box that rattled. When would it be my turn? And when it came, I reached into the crimson bag. Down my small hand went, feeling among the boxes, concentrating so hard my tongue stuck out. Probably because I don't remember. But anyway, I stared forward, and there was another wooden door there. And in that door was another small opening, and I saw these smiling, joyful eyes staring back at me, with wrinkled skin enfolding them, sparkling. She was watching over the children through that small opening in the door as I reached down to claim my gift. My mother and I walked home then in the dark together. Today, it's December 8th, 2024, post-election, post-Thanksgiving, not yet Hanukkah, Christmas, solstice, Kwanzaa, and then there's next year, and who knows what comes next. December is a time when our northern hemisphere world grows dark. Human beings would worry whether the sun would come back at all. We worry, will the sun come back into our spirits? And when it does come back, will we be able to see it? Are we willing? Advent. As I imagined today, pulling threads from older sermons, I just found out Friday, so that's likely no surprise to you. I've been thinking of Advent as a hug, a warm comforter for when we go out in the dark and search the skies for a sign that will give us hope. It's also a time of expectancy. For anyone who's been pregnant, you know what the 9th month is like. A time of urgency, anxiety, because something is going to be born and we don't know what. How do we prepare for the new? For what is not yet known? How do we prepare without fear? Well, it helps to practice. And I don't have a lock on the kind of practices that help you, but I'm going to tell you one or one and a half that helped me. I've had an Advent practice of letting go, which is simply that I sit there and have a phrase that I repeat for a while I meditate of letting go of something. Letting go of my anxiety, letting go of my need to plan, letting go of doom scrolling, letting go just for a little while during the day. And I breathe in those phrases, and I don't do it punitively. I do it gracefully, or as gracefully as I'm able in the moment. I think of letting go as a way of making room for something new. A holding space is our term these days. Holding space every day so that something new can enter my life, your life, or something can be born. And we will be practiced enough to nurture it while it's tender and fragile. Or reborn. What was it you thought you lost that maybe you haven't? Arms open, ready to receive and give an embrace, like being in the foyer on Sunday morning. Nothing like it. So we practice, which is why you come here, to practice and be reminded. We practice so that when we feel distant from the hope of who we thought we should be or are, we are recalled to our better self again, where you and I not only affirm our inherent worth, but live it, have it reinforced by those around us when they smile and say, glad, that hint of gladness to see you this morning. When we stop hurrying so much and proving so much, so we can bow more often to life as it is. "50 years after I was in that convent, which is 15 years ago now, I'm at another convent, now a UU clergywoman, in Attleboro, Massachusetts, at La Salette Monastery and Retreat Center. I'm a new member of an esteemed Greenfield group, Unitarian Ministers Study Group, founded in 1924. Members that weekend are presenting 8 papers on globalization. We were assigned hundreds of pages of reading. That's 15 years ago. Globalization, the massive and diverse locomotive pulled by an insatiable engine as it races down the tracks of change, sweeps away old customs, protections, and traditional peoples aside. or runs them over, concentrating power and wealth on one hand and dispersing ideas and revolution, innovation through social media maybe on the other. The changes it has created as it passes through economies and communities and families and governments who barely catch its meaning, yet we must live into its adaptive impacts. The morning ends, and I am numb from too much information. And in fact, as I saw those words that I wrote 15 years ago, I'm thinking that's what we are living with now. Another sermon. So, blessedly, the afternoon is free, and after lunch, I take a walk down the road to see the rest of La Salette. I stroll a path under large tree limbs through a small woods to emerge and discover a wonderland of 300,000 Christmas lights. It's afternoon, so they're not so bright. It was daylight. And I read that it was the largest display of holiday lights in the United States. Don't know if that's still true. But along with those lights, there were multiple scenes of the Nativity, because it's Advent at a Christian center. And one outdoor scene includes a live donkey named Clopper. Don't know if Clopper's still with us. Clopper's presence conveys some of what a real stable would have smelled like. Who here was born? It's taking you a little while. Who? Let me just inquire again. Who here was born? Good to know. Frost wrote, "In birth after birth, spirit enters flesh for all it's worth. Ever fresh, the supreme merit lay in risking the soul's ethereal into our material." Advent. Is it simple? Imagine spirit enters flesh for all it's worth. Spirit enfleshed, you and I, every being a miracle of birth on this earth. Life and all its mess, dread, anguish, beauty is the gift, friends. So imagine that as my thought balloon as I stand in front of Clopper and the nativity tableau, and I allow myself to be a witness with reverence to that miracle. And I have a peaceful sigh, and I'm taking in the tender hope of a new life, thinking about sermons I would give in the Advent season coming up, and the stark beauty of the star and the earthy smell of the stable. And I accept that this enfleshed life is not pretty, it is messy, and it is a stinking, shining miracle. And miracles know no boundaries. Light, spirit, divinity, whatever you want to name it, is in every living being. We are all breathing for a brief moment in this swiftly tilting life, and the baby, like all babies, is like you and me. We were born to love. Yes, that is miraculously conceivable. Can you even imagine? So there I am in the midst of that epiphany or whatever, and I look up from the stable. And I had gotten a little tender, so I was unprepared for what I saw. Behind and encircling in a half moon, encircling the stable, holding that space, were scenes of the crucifixion. This life-size manger was seasonal. The stages of the cross were permanent. And I had a visceral response. My incarnational chemistry flooded my body as if I was assaulted, and that inner battle began. Why can't we just enjoy the story? Why focus on death and suffering? all the time. Not very kind, not generous. Again, not the hope of myself. Okay? Not the hope of myself. So I had to get closer to it. So my frontal executive function, when did we all talk like this now? Kicked in, and I thought again, respect. You are at their retreat center. This matters to them. What reason is there for this reminder? Can we reconcile those images, the joy and the sorrow, those two images of birth and death, one enfolding the other at the same moment? We human beings are tasked with that. Is that called grief? Because we are born, because spirit has entered flesh, we must and will, every one of our precious selves here today and in the world, we will die. We are humble beings, for we are of the earth. We are noble beings, for we are of the stars. And we are here in the flesh for the time being. Mary Oliver's uses of sorrow. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. I remember as a girl standing in the doorway of my grandmother's bedroom, and on the wall was a calendar page, little calendar with a date circled. And I noticed it was yellowing. And my grandmother had circled one day on a calendar page that stayed on her bedroom wall for the rest of her life. December 9th, 1953. The day my grandfather died in their bed. My dear friend back east, her wife of decades, died 3 years ago, and her Christmases, even with so many friends surrounding her as family, chosen family, is different. Of course. Who would we be if we didn't love and lose and sorrow? Losses, small and large, from our idea of who we are to losses of jobs, abilities, changes sought or feared, loss. I realize that where there is a birth, there will be a death. The eternal comes into flesh, made of elements eternal and shining, and someday we all return to our eternal home. And then I noticed that December afternoon in La Salette that the daylight was dying and it was getting cold. And I lifted my eyes a little higher, past the stable and the cross, and now in the dusk, I could see the 300,000 lights shining, surrounding it and holding it all like eternal stars, put there, constructed, laid out, and lit for the joy of it, simply to give me joy that afternoon. And whoever wandered their paths, the light embraced it all, and I stopped arguing with La Salette. Season after season, I remind myself to accept this gift of life on life's terms. What other choice is there? Grateful or ungrateful? Grateful opens us up to be able to receive gifts of joy, gifts of sorrow, insight, purpose, kindness, and then let them overflow as we are able. And our work is to be able. That is our blessed, precious, joyful, divine work in our lives. There are so many gifts if we have eyes to see and ears to hear, noses to smell, tasting, touching. Our bodies give and receive all ordinary common senses and sense. Incarnational gifts, the big present, friends. Some seasons are harder than others, I know. And I've been reaching for that feeling of connection and calm, hoping it will settle my heart and order my thoughts and make room for insight so that I can receive again and appreciate and be glad for the surprise of every day and not dread it. Practice, even when I am so distant from the hope of myself, allows me to open to the light of this season. But it's not just about the light. It's also the dark. Dark lets us see the light more brightly, but that's not it. The dark, like a soft blanket, a pillow fort you burrow into, a cave, a womb. The dark is a gift too. Solitude, recovery. I woke very early this morning, anxious about the sermon, and it's almost done. I went outside holding a hot cup of tea. The birds were chattering, getting ready to wake up with the sun, and the sun hadn't yet become visible, but its effect in the sky, those rosy fingers of dawn, painting the mountains receiving the color, sharing it with all of us. This morning, I stood there breathing as part of it all, not apart from it, accepting that I need the dark too, the earth, to remind me, to hold me, to ground me. Some solitude, not isolation. That's tricky. I am, you are of the earth. The light is not all. Being home holds all. So I'm going to try to keep it simple this season. Go slowly, bow more. Practicing. To be ready, to rise in the dark, to greet the sunrise when it comes over the tree line, to feel the light of the sun on my face breaking open a new day, and bow. Thank you. And thank you, Reverend Ian, for inviting me to this place this Sunday to feel the connection with you all. There's nothing like being in the room where it happens. And when I think of you, friends, I smile. Light, hope, love, and hints of gladness. I would almost say that this community saves us. Thank you, Bryna. It's wonderful to dance with you. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, team. Thank you, all the people, seen and unseen, that open the doors and keep the lights on, and a beautiful community of hope, indoors and out. Bless you all.
Now, aren't you glad she said yes at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon? 6 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Because this has been a season of anxiety and stress, and I look around and people are forgetting to breathe, I thought today would be a good day to have Breathe as our closing hymn. And I invited a few people to join us. So AV team, let it go. Just a gentle reminder. It's time for congregational news, so let's begin with the force behind the Social Justice Committee, Denise Jansen-Eager.
Thank you, Bryna. Thank you, Reverend Barbara. Oh, we needed that. I needed that. And thank you, elves, who participated yesterday. Next Sunday, make sure you're either here in the sanctuary at least 10 minutes early, or if you're watching online, check in at 9:50, because we're going to have photos from yesterday, and we're going to have photos from when we're serving dinner on Tuesday, December 10th. Wonderful, so exciting. Our other big project that we do is to work with Galilee Center, and again, we're doing that on Tuesday, December 17th, to filling the food baskets. These are their Christmas meal baskets. And on December 19th, they're distributing them. And that's a Thursday. One's in the morning on Tuesday. On Thursday, it's in the afternoon, about 1:45 to about 5 o'clock. Here's the deal. Today, this day is the last opportunity to sign up for both events, either in the lobby or for you watching at home. In the email that you, in the newsletter is the link to sign up. Join us. Both programs, Galilee Center, CVUSD, these are wonderful programs, and we're so excited to share the generosity with our neighbors. Thank you.
Next, you've probably been reading about Sacred Grounds in the newsletter. If you don't know much about it, swing by the table during coffee hour to learn about this ministry of the natural world. Each fall, we create new native habitat, and we are right at peak season now, so please stop by the table and see, and we can give you a tour of what's new. Cheryl wants you all to know that although she's unable to host the Christmas dinner at her home, she is happy to bring the ham and scalloped potatoes if anyone is able to host the group. If you can, please see her. Now it's my honor to introduce a president we can all be proud of, Bob Rancourt.
That's very kind. Good morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Bob Rancourt, the president of the board. Hopefully you do know me. And how does this sound? Vermont spice cupcakes filled with a chocolate hazelnut filling topped with maple buttercream frosting with real bacon bits on top. Does that sound like first place? That's what I plan to submit for the first ever UUCOD Bake-Off coming to you on January 19th after service. So please plan to attend, eat, donate, have a lot of fun, or like me, compete. Bring your best baked good. We got a lot of bakers in the house, I know that. So we're going to have a great time. I'm positive of it. We're going to do a lot of stuff and have a great time. For those who want to help, please, we need some help in organizing, making the rules, planning how it's going to go. We're getting together today after service, maybe about 20 minutes after service, hopefully in the community room. Please join us so you can be a part of planning the event. Other than that, though, come on January 19th. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
See what else there is today. From Sarita. Sorry. Okay. Women Who Lunch will be meeting on December 9th. There's a sign up outside on the round table. Please join Women Who Lunch from noon to 2 at Dickey's Barbecue on Bob Hope Drive. There are limited vegetarian options, salads, mac and cheese, loaded baked potatoes. It's very casual dining. Please see Sarita if you have any questions or are hungry. Finally, as always, the service wouldn't be complete without our gratitude for everyone who had a part in today's service. Reverend Barbara, thank you for being here. You are a light for all of us. Joel, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I can always count on him to deliver his best, and I want to let you know he is a very good Scrabble player. The AV team, week in and week out, kudos, great job. And I need to give a special shout out to Marty Gronwald, my partner in crime, who, when everything changed yesterday morning at 9 o'clock, came up with and did all the graphics for today's service. So I do appreciate you. To our ushers, greeters, and hospitality team, you personify what community means. And finally, to you here in the sanctuary and you at home, thank you for showing up.
I think we extinguished the chalice. Uh-huh. Yeah, getting in, I'm getting in the...
It's been, folks, it's been that kind of a weekend.
Mike?
Maybe I just need to grow. I don't know. I'm stretching. I'm going to the gym, I'm stretching. Please join us as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
You know, laughter is a very good benediction. It just opens up your lungs, and it's one of the things that make us human. And I just want to also, Marty was sending me email images even after I went to sleep last night so thank you, Marty. And Fran, where are you? Thank you for getting a new order of worship up and online, the streaming. So thank you all, and Bryna, of course. Oh, it's been very good for me, thank you. So, closing words. Be humble, for you are of the earth. Be noble, for you are of the stars. See if you can let the story become you in every sense of its holiness of this season. If the Spirit is willing to take the risk to be born in you and me, then it's up to us to be willing to make the most of our time here. It's simple. You too have come into this world to do this, to be filled with light and to shine. And that's the promise. Go in peace, bring the love, be the light, and bless everyone, no exception. Include yourself. Let the people say, Amen.